So here we are, finally talking about it, because I've been asked a bunch about it, I tweeted about it, but I really just wanted to get it out in a video. So it's obvious by the title, I am talking about a Dark Souls anime, and yes, you heard that right, a Dark Souls anime is apparently currently in the making. Don't get too excited now, because it's apparently being made by Netflix. Now, that is not necessarily, a great thing. From what it looks like right now and what this article is saying, there is no real proof other than a trusted source, so you can kind of take it with a grain of salt with most things like this. Another thing it states is that this would be a legitimate original by Netflix, meaning Netflix, what they do a lot is they have shows that are already made by other people, and then they buy the rights for them and then stamp their Netflix logo on it and call it a Netflix original. They do that a lot with a bunch of anime, but this would apparently be an anime that is not made yet, and they would pretty much be paying for it right from the beginning. Castlevania was a massive success in terms of anime for Netflix. I'm not entirely sure how good it was past season 1, because pretty much season 1 was all I watched, and I will say I actually did really like season 1. I think I've seen other clips from the other seasons, and they have had like pretty amazing animations. So it's not to say that they can't do something right and that it's everything they do is bad, but they've also have a pretty bad track record with some of their other animes and shows as well, and like bringing shows to live action. I guess it's a little bit less worrying than if they said they were bringing a live action Dark Souls series. But instantly my thought was, ugh, I don't want a Dark Souls anime. That sounds terrible. But then I did kind of start thinking about it more, and I had a specific tweet where I mentioned it could maybe work if they had the main character be this badass killing machine that is essentially you slaying gods, which is what you do in a lot of the Dark Souls games. You killing massive crazy gods and enemies of legend and stuff like that, which sounds really cool. I think people took it the wrong way because I compared it to Goblin Slayer, and what I meant more by that was that I want the main character to just be badass. You know, I think that Goblin Slayer has a lot of heart to it with a lot of the side characters and stuff like that, which is, I think, that's something that could be done well in a Dark Souls anime. I think that while your character is sort of interesting, I think the world itself in Dark Souls and all the characters, almost every single thing is way more interesting than you, the main character, in any of the Dark Souls games. Your adventures of going through people's stories and doing these quest lines and figuring out the lore of different situations that have happened in the world, you're just kind of in this world. Everything is more interesting than you. So I hope if they do this anime, you are not the main focus. You know, I don't want them to make John Dark Souls, you know, the main character of Dark Souls and have him be present. I kind of want him to kind of trot along the world and experience characters and stories from the actual game, obviously. I guess I don't know if they would take it very much from the game, like specific lore things, Patches being an asshole, stuff like that, you know, very specific things. Would they actually adapt it? Or do they want to use the world of Dark Souls and the name Dark Souls, but it's going to be a completely original new story? And god damn it, if it's not written by Miyazaki and like the team at From Software, I don't want it. I don't want it. Straight up. If it's an original story made by a couple of I guess there's a little strike happening right now, so there's not many writers that are going to be writing this thing. But if this isn't made with From Software having some input on different story related things and world related things and a bunch of things, I really am not interested, to be honest. I think it can be done well though. I think that if the right things happen, I think that if they actually care about it, don't give it some CGI animation, because I typically, you know, I think that it can be done well, and I've seen some scenes from the new Trigun that look really cool that have done it well. Obviously, Demon Slayer had a bunch of kind of 3D animations, and it worked well in certain scenarios, but if it's just that, I feel like it's still not at a point where it's done well and doesn't just kind of just take you out of it. So I hope that it does have great animation, give it to a good studio, but the story is really important, I think. So main focus, be the world, be the characters that the main character, John Dark Souls, of course, who's going to be the main character, have it be about them when you run into them, and have some badass fights, because really that is what Dark Souls has. It has so many cool, badass moments where you feel like a freaking badass. It would be interesting to see how they implement certain things when it comes to you dying, always being able to get revived and stuff like that, if that is something that's being made. Another thing that would be funny, and I think that would be great, is if they made it a comedy. I think it can be probably made into a pretty good comedy. And that's not saying it would all be just non-stop dumb jokes, but I think that it can be made into something that is funny and then also has moments of sincerity, like a slice of life thing, which sounds really weird, but I think that, for example, the Elden Ring manga, I don't know if anybody's been reading that, but I've read some of it, and I really want to do a stream where I end up reading through all of it. If I can find it online, let me know if you guys find that interesting. Maybe we'll figure that one out. But that shit is really goddamn funny, and it's all a comedy, and you wouldn't expect that from Elden Ring, but it's done well. The art in it is fantastic. The characters are funny. It can be done well. And I think with different bosses and characters and your character always dying and being able to die nonstop and always coming back to life, I think it can be done well. So you know what? I don't absolutely hate the idea of a Dark Souls anime. I'm kind of hyped for it. I don't know if you guys remember a long time ago, there was this crazy ass news that an HBO Bloodborne show was being made. Sounds ridiculous, but in light of many things like the Last of Us television show, I think maybe it would be kind of sick as well if we start seeing some Dark Souls related media. I remember with Elden Ring, before it came out, they said that Elden Ring wasn't just going to be like a game. They wanted to make it into like a franchise of things, a franchise of sort. I guess, is franchise the right word? Pretty much, it wasn't just going to be a video game. They wanted to have like comics, animes, manga. They wanted it to be like more than just a video game, you know? I could see them do it with other games as well in the From Software lineup. Would they take from all the games? You know, will they make an original story? Will they focus on Dark Souls 1? Will they focus on Dark Souls 2, 3, Bloodborne? You know, it's so interesting because there's so much there if they really want to do something. There's a chance that it could come out well. So I'm 100% not going to be like completely negative about it and say that it's awful and weird, because the more that I've thought about it, the more I think it would be cool. But then they also did a Dragon's Dogma anime, and well, let's not talk about that. And you know what? Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think would make a good Dark Souls anime episode? How about that? We leave that as a comment. I think honestly, getting trolled by Patches could be a really funny running gag throughout a anime if it's made into a comedy. He's kind of a troll in that regard, where he does, you know, he just hides in other people's armors in Dark Souls 3 and pretends to be them. And I love it. And I love that character. A lot of people hate him, but I think he's a really funny, and then when it came to Dark Souls 3, surprisingly sincere character when he turned into Lap. Somehow this bumbling troll happens to always be alive and survive and be in every single one of their universes. It's real weird. And yeah, maybe we'll see some invasions as well. You know what? Hit me up if you want me to do a voice, and I'll do a voice, of course. I'm assuming, of course, the Kid Snatcher is probably gonna have an episode or two, but I guess we'll see. You know, my price is very, very low, maybe like a ham sandwich or something. Very, very cheap, very cheap. So let me know, Netflix. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because, yeah, it's interesting. I'm always excited for anything new Dark Souls related. Let me know what you guys think. You guys think it's going to be bad if it's actually a real thing? I'm curious. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much if you made it this far. Leave a like. I really appreciate it if you do. Helps out the channel, helps out the video. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.